to mastery.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and you've both worked with Gary for a number of years. Obviously, I know you've worked with him for decades, Jay. So, is there anything that you've seen him do that's contributed to his success that you've never seen anyone else do?
Well, lots. I mean, he is like a self-made billionaire and got his values in the right order, right? He's really clear about his values and who he is, which is refreshing. I mean, we see a lot of very wealthy, successful people that are clearly lost in terms of their values. So it's very refreshing to have him in our lives from that perspective. But when he pitched me the idea, like he wrote an essay that became the book, as someone who's been in publishing for like 30 years now, I was excited because I was like, that's it. That's kind of his superpower. When he's on his game, he will give whatever the priority is more time, more focus, more resources than anyone else in the world. And the joke here is, if you go into a meeting with Gary and what's important to you is number 3 on the agenda, be prepared to reschedule, because until we're done with the number 1 thing, which may not even be on the agenda, like the odds that we get to number 3 are pretty slim. He's very good at that and he lives it. And so I just thought, wow, that's authentically who our boss and mentor and partner is. And so I love putting that out in the world. A lot of books that people put out they're reflective of what they aspire to be, but not who they are. And he's been honing that for 40 years. It'll be 40 years this coming spring, Keller Williams.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And you've worked with him, obviously, because he coached you in the very beginning. Does he still coach you now, or was it in the very beginning as you were starting out, Wendy?
No, he hasn't really. We haven't had. I learn a lot through Jay. Jay brings a lot of nuggets home, and so I've learned a lot through osmosis, and I had the opportunity to learn a lot even before I became an agent, just by listening to what Jay had to say when he came home and we talked about it over the dinner table.
Because obviously when you first started the business, right, you were still very much a full-time mom, and was it kind of like a part-time gig for you almost in the beginning?
Yeah, my goal when I started was to save enough money to make enough money to buy another investment property for our family. So it was about, I think my goal that year was to make $15,000, which was really low.
And did you?
But how much did you make?
Yeah, I made $85,000, which was twice as much money as I'd ever made in a year before. So that was pretty awesome.
Wow.
And what were your hours? Because this is the important thing. Like, how many hours did you work a week?
I don't know. I was able to have a lot of flexibility. I definitely worked part-time, but I was also, getting up early, before the kids and running around and doing things. So
I just remember you kind of would work primarily between 9 and 2, like drop the kids off, be there to pick them up for a while.
Yes. And I hate to give people the wrong impression, because there were plenty of late nights and early mornings as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
Having to work around.
Set some boundaries. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how long did it take for you to get to where you are now? Because you have a huge team now, right? Papasan Properties, is that right?
Yep. So I was able to start the team, and within 5 years, I'd made $1 million. I was making $1 million in commission checks. So those first 5 years, really a lot of growth, and of course, a lot of that had to do with Keller Williams and teaching me how to grow a team and teaching me how to leverage. And I know lots and lots of people who've been in business as long as I have, and they work all the time. For me, I don't do any sales anymore. So I've definitely leveraged all that out, and I just run the team now.
And do you think that's a lot of that is down to obviously what you got taught through the one thing, using the tools like the GPS and the 411? Because, as you say, a lot of people could start a business and they wouldn't be able to just work 3 hours and still make it a success because they're too reactive. They're not focusing on the most important things. Do you think that's why that you'd kind of almost done that pre-learning before?
Yes. And, Jay just gave me a gift, which was to basically say, hey, I don't want you to be like all these other crazy agents who work 80 hours a week. I want you to have a life. And so he just encouraged me to get leverage right away, which was not easy for me. And sometimes, leverage starts at home, especially for a lot of women. It is really hard to think that you can do it all. And actually you can't do it all. You have to, there's I think it's a myth, this idea of you can be I just actually finished a great book called Pay Up. And it talks a lot about how, in the US, at least, I'm not sure what it's like in the UK, but, women typically do twice as much unpaid work every day as men. So for women, if you're going to start in real estate, you need to figure out how to leverage some of those things at home if you don't have a partner who's going to do some of those things for you.
That's a very, very good point, because only fairly recently, it's almost like I felt like I was failing if I wasn't doing it all, which is ridiculous, because obviously you can't be great at one thing and still do a million other things, right? So I literally just hired a cleaner just to take off all of the cleaning that I would need to be doing, because I was always catching up with myself on a weekend. I'd be working flat out Monday to Friday. My weekends would be cleaning, preparing meals for the week and so on. Have no real downtime with the family. And I realized then that, I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't, having time with the kids, which makes me happy, which then improves my mindset, which means I then obviously improve better in, I work better in business anyway. Just by doing that small thing, it's brought me back so much time, not just with my family, but a little bit in the morning for Legion, because my kids don't wake up before midday anyway. So, it's not affecting them, is it, if I'm doing a bit of work?
Well, it's hard because
I remember when we got a housekeeper, I asked the people I worked with, and all these people that were entry-level employees that worked with me had housekeepers. And so our own thrift and maybe our own internal issues about having people do things for us were getting in the way of us getting that time back. And whether you use it to do sales or just be present with your kids, it's a good investment if you use it wisely. So I'm sorry I interrupted you, Wendy.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just going to say it's, we're only a few generations removed, at least in the United States, where women could even get a bank account on their own. So it is actually pretty normal for you to feel that way, which is I should be doing everything because that's how we were raised, so it's pretty normal. Yeah.
So true. And look, that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love your podcast, because all of the ladies on the podcast, you speak my language, which means it's so I can completely relate to everything you're saying, but which even more so makes me feel like, well, there's no reason why I can't be as successful. If I make sure that I do focus in the right places, I can do that too, because you are so relatable. I thank you for that, because that really helped me through lockdown. It's helped me since, and given me the belief that I can do it too. So thank you very much for that. For people that are listening in, should be listening to the Empire Building podcast, because it's absolutely superb.
Well, Claire, you are building your empire. I love that. Congratulations. Yeah.
I'm on my way. You watch this space.